Podcast at Ground Zero is presented to you by the Apocalypse. Because without the Apocalypse we wouldn't be doing this show.
Greetings, friends of the Apocalypse. This is Podcast at Ground Zero, your home for the Apocalypse, for episode 91, off-topic number 8. I am the Apocalypse Nerd. He is Adam Bomb Glancy. Welcome to the Wastelands.
Welcome back, folks, and season's greetings.
Yes, we are still in the season. We are recording this between the Christmas holiday and the New Year holiday, so we're still in the season. It's been a while since we've been here, folks. Again, I guess I'll apologize again because I'm very, very sporadic lately. But hey, we do get them out when we can. And
clearly, where I am having a little bit of a snowmageddon up here in Seattle, where somebody in the Mojave wished for a nuclear winter, and landed on us up here. So I got to enjoy the wonders of what happens when your pipes freeze. And I gotta tell you, that little taste of the apocalypse where you have to go get water from somewhere else and bring it to your house so you can flush your toilets is no fun. That is no fun. And number two, trying to gather up snow to melt in order to have water to flush your toilets is a terrible idea because snow is filthy. Remember when your parents slapped the snow out of your mouth when you tried to eat it as a kid? They did that. There was a reason. Snow is filthy. Do not let your kid, do not put it in your mouth. And oh my God, the idea that you're going to boil snow for water. Yeah, maybe after you boil it and then put it through like a filtration system, because holy cow, you're going to need some charcoal to remove the...
And then boil it again.
Oh my God, it's not good, kids. It's not good out there. So, yes, that was my miniature Armageddon, what it's going to be like when the water goes off. It was harder than when the power went off.
I have not had that at all. He's having below freezing weather in frozen pipes. I'm having 80-plus degree weather where I'm at for Christmas. Yeah.
Clearly, the conditions are different in post-apocalyptic Florida.
Oh yeah, but then I have 6 months of stress of like, is a hurricane going to come? Is a hurricane going to come? Am I going to lose my house? Am I going to lose power? Am I going to lose my house? I got those kind of worries. You know,
you might not lose the whole house. You could lose part of it. I mean, people seem to live pretty good in those Fallout communities who are living in half a house. You know, in Fallout 4. They seem to be getting along just fine with their, halfway knocked down house that they're living in one room of. I'm sure you'll be fine.
We'll be fine. Well, while the insurance company pays for me to live in a hotel while they rebuild my house.
You think that'll actually happen? You think is your insurance that good?
That's what the policy's supposed to do.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that, because they're trying to get the insurance company to pay off after the apocalypse is always difficult.
Oh yeah, it's not something I enjoy, but yeah, folks. So we're back for another episode again, off topic number 8. This is the 8th time we've had our off topic subject of lots of random things. So we're going to talk about that. Oh, one quick thing again, not really apocalyptic, but I forgot to tell you, I did get to participate in a one-shot of Mothership.
Oh, tell me about this, because I didn't know this is a thing that happened.
It happened to some other guys I've met who do another podcast. I've been on their show a couple times now, actually. I just recorded another one today. And they play virtually, and they did a one-shot. it was kind of learning the system a little bit, and we kind of pushed through it because it wasn't going to be for a campaign, so we glossed over a lot of stuff. But it's of course it's the Zero Edition, which is out. The Fruit one's been out for a couple of years. First edition's coming out, and they did make some changes because there was a couple of things we had some stumbling blocks with.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's a simple, streamlined system, and again, gaming for 40 plus years, we could figure things out. Well, at least I could figure things out. But some of it was a little janky, and I see why they made some changes in the new rules for it. But it's It's an interesting system. I like it, and it's definitely it's definitely science fiction horror. It's very like we got into this, and this was not orcs and goblins. It was like this is like playing. It's kind of like playing Call of Cthulhu in space, because you know what? You're not fucking prepared. No matter what you think, you're not prepared. You're not prepared.
The tool you need to solve this problem is not here. You left it on Earth. Good luck with whatever you've got hanging around.
Or, you know what? Or guess what? You don't have the tools to solve this problem. Because it's not like later editions of games where everything has a...
the preparedness stat. I've always seen that. There's a stat that...
It's called it's a CR rating, which is I don't know what the fuck it stands for, but it's something about balance. It's a balance thing. A challenge rating. Challenge rating. There's no challenge. This is like Call of Cthulhu. There's no challenge rating. It's
not every encounter is balanced. In fact, the whole point of it being horror is that it's unbalanced.
Unbalanced, just like earlier editions of Dungeons and Dragons. It's not. Guess what? Maybe you're not supposed to take on those 5 trolls. Maybe you need to role play and think of another solution around the problem. Yep. It's not all about combat. I mean, trust me, I like a good combat. But I'm also down with a lot of good role playing, problem solving. So I like what I saw, and I'd like to do it again.
All right, excellent. I'm glad to hear that it's holding up for you.
Yeah, it was definitely like because it also has the horror of not knowing what you're encountering. It's not like, okay, we got trolls, so we need acid fire, we need to chop their heads off.
Yeah. Even playing Call of Cthulhu after 40 years of this game, everybody knows what the problem is they're about to throw at you. And the surprise, the unknown element, is what makes the horror really interesting.
And that's what we had in this game, because, they're calling, their monster manual in the new edition is going to be unconfirmed contact reports. And it's not a manual. It's like, there's some vague descriptions because, again, things are rumors, unconfirmed. You don't know what you're encountering. So it was pretty... I like it, and I'd like to, I'd definitely like to do it again.
Fantastic. I know you've been looking forward for a chance to try that system out for a while. Very cool. So, as part of our sort of... Speaking of random encounters, I guess that's what we're doing, is just to sort of hit some of the topics of apocalypse that are going on right now.
We're on a hex crawl. We're going to crawl around and tell you what we find.
Tell you what have we encountered in the world of post-apocalypse right now. Would you like to begin?
Yes, I'll start with some stuff that I've seen. I haven't seen all of it, but things I've encountered on Netflix. And I know a lot of people have Netflix, so at least most people should be able to access this stuff. There's an anthology series out now called Oats Studio, and they have these short apocalyptic little stories. They're like little movies. They've ranged anywhere from literally from 7 minutes long to 20-something minutes. There's no set. They're not an hour. They're not half hour. They could be anywhere from, again, most of them seem to be anywhere from 7 to 10 minutes to 20 to 25 minutes long. I've only watched one of them. It was a post-apo. It was a invasion scenario with Sigourney Weaver was in it, and
Raka. That was the name of that one, Raka. Rakka, I think.
I think so, and I've only seen the one, and it's interesting. So that's there out on Netflix. That's something you could watch. And another thing I saw on Netflix was I watched a while ago. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the show. Was there's a film, a Korean zombie film called Hashtag Alive. So,
okay.
So it was another Korean one. It was after Train to Busan, but before the second Train to Busan. It's, a zombie apocalypse happens, and this guy's like trapped in his apartment because the things are everywhere, and it's him dealing with trying to survive, and he makes contact with somebody else in another apartment building across the way, and then have this trying to survive this zombie apocalypse, trying to like crawl down, to other balconies to get supplies and stuff like that. It wasn't bad. It was interesting. It was worth my hour and a half. It wasn't terrible.
So superior to Peninsula?
No. Well, Peninsula?
Yes.
Yeah, I liked it better than Peninsula.
Okay, so not Train to Busan, but better than Peninsula.
Train to Busan set a pretty good standard, pretty good marker there.
Yeah.
But #Alive wasn't terrible. Again, it's again standard zombie tropes and stuff like that. But it was interesting. I was entertained by it. It's worth a watch. It
reminded me a little bit of the section in Max Brooks's World War Z, where he talks about the guy trapped in his high rise in Japan and having to get down the outside of the building because all the halls on all the floors are just stuffed with his neighbors.
That might have been an inspiration for it, because the guy stayed at home with his parents, played video games, and a lot of it was #Alive, because a lot of people, again, it worked in a lot of modern day social media into it too. Like there were still some connections. He was trying to find cell tower, because I don't think it was everywhere, but it was a lot of places. So. So there was still some internet, and people were posting stuff on social medias and TikToks and like #Alive, and people find him. So it worked a little bit of modern society into it.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll mark that down as a possibility. Something that I've started watching that you have not yet is Station 11. I ran across the book Station 11 a couple years back. It was written in 2014, and it supposes a plague apocalypse that wipes everyone out. A new flu, a fictional version of the swine flu that in the book is called the Georgia flu.
Oh, so they're just trying to bank in on COVID, right?
Well, I'm getting that the series absolutely is banking on a little COVID there, but the original book was not. I haven't read the book, but I had put it down as a thing that I should probably read for the podcast. But they've made it into a miniseries, a limited miniseries. And so far, so good. A lot of the series appears to be really about trauma and about how surviving trauma and loss leaves you damaged in ways that even you don't recognize as damage. And the story through the initial episodes jumps backwards and forwards in time. It literally begins right when it's going down, right now, and then we'll jump to 20 years after the plague has burned itself out. And it doesn't appear that the survivors are survivors because they're immune, like the ones in The Stand.
Okay.
They're immune because they didn't catch it, because they isolated, because people stayed out there and away from everything until everyone who had the disease died. And the main character is a little girl named Kirsten, who was at a theater in a theater in Chicago, and her mother ends up leaving the theater with a cast member who collapsed on stage, or rather, the person who's supposed to take care of her leaves to take care of this cast member and leaves the kid. So a stranger in the crowd ends up, going, well, gee, I guess this guy named Jeevan, this South Asian guy's like, well, I guess I'll walk you back to your parents' house. But parents aren't home, and then he's stuck with this girl, and he's stuck getting a phone call from his sister in a hospital saying, I'm in a hospital, it's going down right now. Go grab all the food you can grab right now, get to your brother's place, lock yourselves in the condo, don't come out, get 3 months worth of food or whatever it is. Don't come out. And he's stuck with this girl, and he's like, we'll wait at my brother's house for your parents to come home. We'll do that. And she gets stuck with him. And then later you see this girl, when she's all grown up and 20 years older. We don't know where Jeevan is. We don't know what happened to him. And part of the story is going back to the past and going forward to the present. And the story is going to unfold. And there are more than one plot line. There's more than one group of characters. But one of the things that's starting to unite the story is the idea that there was a hand-drawn, created comic book by this artist before the plague comes. A comic book that Kirsten, the little girl, actually had access to. But other people had access to it. And this comic book has now become the basis of some creepy cult that is turning out to be a threat to everyone. And there's this creepy divide that's part of the new religion between people who were born before the plague and people who were born after, or remember anything. Because there were people who were old enough to have been born before the plague, but they don't remember cell phones and they don't remember Uber. There's a discussion where somebody's trying to explain how Uber worked to someone who was born after the apocalypse. And the main setting of the story is that Kirsten is going around with this community called the Traveling Symphony, which is basically a bunch of medieval troubadours who are doing what Kevin Costner was doing in The Postman, going from town to town, putting on shows. Except there's a bunch of them, so they can put on an actual Hamlet or an actual, play. They don't have to just do a scene or a soliloquy or whatever. And they're going around basically, providing the only entertainment around Lake Michigan. They have this route where they go around Lake Michigan and this map of all the communities they've been hitting on a circuit for the better part of 2 decades. And they're...
That ties into things that we've talked about before. Like we did a episode in the past about entertainment in the apocalypse. So that's definitely something that I could foresee happening. Is people want to be entertained, so you could definitely see that growing out of that and people doing that for sure. So
yeah, so far, I mean, they reference things like it's 20 years later. There were militias that have and gangs that have kind of burned themselves out over the years because robbing and stealing eventually doesn't work out so hot for you. There's little hints about this post-apocalyptic world we're learning more and more about. It's very much like Survivors, the British TV series. There's a lot that connects it to Survivors, although 20 years later, there's not a lot of bullets. Oh boy, there's a lot of knives. There's a lot of melee weapons and stuff, but 20 years later, we're not seeing a lot of firearms.
Which, again, we've talked about that, how eventually the ammunition's going to run out because unless somebody's manufacturing it, and then again, we've folks, there's a whole episode about that. In the I don't remember which one it is, but we definitely talk about. I think it's an episode we talk about weapons or in the apocalypse, and we talk about that whole subject about black powder and firearms and so forth.
So I don't know how far it's going to go. It some of the weaponry is starting to look like.
Well, before you reveal too much about the show,
let me just say one thing. It is a show about trauma. It is a show about people having PTSD from being a survivor, and this weird thing where the people who grew up after the apocalypse don't have that kind of PTSD. So there's a real cultural division between the people who lost everything and the people who didn't lose anything. It is, man, I was super thrilled that at one point somebody threatens an older person, somebody who's gone through the trauma and has PTSD. Somebody starts to threaten someone, and they don't even get through the threat before they get stabbed in the chest. Which I thought was, if you've been surviving for 20 years through all this stuff, well, then you had to do a bunch of it without a community, and you had to, claw your way up to nothing from all this loss. you're not going to take threats lightly. There was no counter threat. There wasn't no, oh yeah, it was just stab. And I was like, golf clap. That's what I want to see when somebody starts talking some smack in the after the apocalypse. No, we don't. Homie, don't play that.
Cool. So, and again, I'm going to stop Scott before he tells you the entire show. So
it's good. Good call.
And that's on Netflix.
HBO.
Oh, it's on HBO. Okay, so folks,
it's on HBO.
So not everybody might not have HBO, but if you have HBO, I do because it comes along with my internet for free because I have the gigabit speed, so they provide me with HBO. It's not like I would never buy it, have it, but it's free. I'll take it. So if you have HBO, or you know what, maybe wait a few weeks or month until it completely drops, and then just get a free trial and binge it.
It's supposed to air the 10th episode on January 13th, 2022. That's supposed to be when it'll all be available to be binged. If you're thinking about waiting. Right now we've only got I think five episodes out.
Okay.
5 episodes out.
Well, cool. All right, so that's on HBO. Just another quick one. Again, on Netflix. Again, these are things I've seen in the past but never mentioned before. There was a show called a movie called I Am Mother, which is on Netflix.
Yes.
It's a post-apocalyptic society has collapsed. There's apparently a facility where they're incubating and growing, making humans, without the womb, but there's no other humans, and they're being raised by robots. So it's, I guess, a little bit advanced if these robots are raising these test tube babies. So it's about this test tube baby that's born and raised by robots, but then they actually encounter other humans as they get older, and the conflicts that happen with that because they've never been exposed to other people. They've only been around intelligent computers and robots. So I haven't seen it. I don't know if it's worth. Oh, you have? Is it worth?
I have seen it.
Is it worth watching?
I enjoyed it. It was much more ruthless than I was expecting, which was, I didn't want it to pull its punches, and I don't think it did. My recollection is it's a super ruthless story, not the least of which because we've got a machine intelligence, and it's going to make some very cold-blooded decisions about what's best for humanity.
Oh, yeah.
So,
kind of like, because there's no emotion there. There's just intelligence. So, kind of like, what was the that movie in the 70s with the supercomputers that could make humans their slaves to save them?
Colossus the Forbin Project.
Yeah.
Yes, where it's like, congratulations, mankind. I'm going to provide you a better future, one where you're not going to have to make any bad decisions because I'm going to make all the decisions.
Yeah. So kind of like that, huh?
Together we will explore the stars. We will end hunger and poverty, but you're not in charge anymore. Yeah.
So, all right. So I Am Mother, according to Scott, worth checking out. I still want to check it out. Again, it was on my list. I hadn't come across it yet and then watched it yet. And then there's one more thing I saw on Netflix. It's another quick one. There was another movie, I think it was just a movie called I.O., as in I-O, the letter O, as in the Io, the planet, the moon of Jupiter. I think it's Jupiter. It's a apocalyptic Earth. We've destroyed the environment, toxic planet. We leave Earth to go to, they colonize Io. And there's some people still left on the planet dealing with the toxic environment and surviving and connecting. I don't know much more about it because I just saw the quick trailer for it and I was like, okay, that could be interesting, because they're still trying to communicate and I don't know much about it, folks. But again, it was something that caught my eye, so I figured it's worth a mention. And another thing I'll note always is a lot of times a lot of the stuff that I find, I've mentioned this website before. It's a website called Quiet Earth. Quiet Earth is a really good website because that's all they post. Generally, it's apocalyptic and dystopian. They're constantly, and they come across movies TV shows, anything apocalyptic, dystopian, they post it. So that's a source where I find a lot of stuff.
I want to point out that the Sean Connery film Outland, the mining colony in Outland, is based on IO.
Okay.
In case we wanted another connection to not an apocalypse, but more science fiction. So IO has come up before.
Oh, we're always good with science fiction here too, folks. So, all right. So, and I got a couple more shows I could talk about, but I know you got some stuff.
I got one. I'll say I've watched a season of Raised by Wolves. Now, Raised by Wolves is kind of a mess. I'm not going to deny that. It's weird. It does things that are both super high tech and then weirdly low tech at the same time. That makes its science fiction world is a little wonky to me, and it has some post-apocalyptic elements. We have destroyed the biosphere of the Earth in a global war of atheists versus religious people. The religion of this world is not Christianity. It is clearly derived from some elements of monotheism, but it is a solar church, believing that the sun, Sol, is a god. Possibly other sons are gods, but Sol is their god. They refer to them as Mithrans, which I guess is a reference to Mithras, which is an old Babylonian deity. But we are in the way far future. We have AI, we have androids, we have interstellar traveler, and we fucked up planet Earth. And the story follows two missions to a planet around another sun who has the same atmospheric pressure, the same gravity, and the same gas mix as Earth. It's a kind of place you could dump people on with limited tools and they could survive, which is rare as hen's teeth, apparently, in this imagining of the universe. It's not Star Trek where M-class planets are a dime a dozen. This place is rare, and, the two missions are, one is a mission sent by the atheists with a bunch of embryos in transit to be raised by these two androids who are going to be mother and father to a new generation of humans raised with atheist ideals and not have to worry about anything like God and religion. The other mission is basically a sleeper ship sent by the religious types, the Mithrans, who've helped wreck Earth in order to cleanse it of unbelievers, who are now off to find a new planet to call their own. And while there are post-apocalyptic elements to it, it is not truly a post-apocalyptic story. You get a lot of flashbacks to Earth when it's all screwed up and a mess during the war that wrecks the Earth and makes it uninhabitable. And there are certainly elements of this world that they've landed on that are sort of post-apocalyptic, and it looks like there may have been a civilization there before that got trounced, and the only thing left behind are its artifacts and its junk. But it's held my interest. I've watched the first season. It might ping your post-apocalyptic. You might feel it in your post-apocalyptic funny bone. It is not as post-apocalyptic as Station 11. That is both far superior and far more apocalyptic. But Raised by Wolves has some elements, and some of the elements are like I Am Mother, in that we've got AI trying to make a better human and having some middling levels of success and failure when it comes to that.
Yeah, I'd seen. Where's that on? That's on.
That is definitely on.
Is that Prime?
HBO. I think that's on HBO as well.
Is it?
Let me triple check.
While he's checking, but yeah, it's because it's definitely something I came across, and I bookmarked in the back of my head to kind of check it out. And you're right, it doesn't. It's not completely post-apocalyptic, but it has some elements, which again, we like seeing those elements, and you could always throw those elements into whatever you're working on or not working on or playing with or reading about.
Mm-hmm. It is on HBO.
Okay.
The second season, 10 episodes, second season is about to drop February 3rd, 2022. So
okay.
we will get some more. We will get another season.
All right, so another HBO one. So if you were, if somebody was going to just, try to get a free trial to binge something, you would say go with Station 11 over... Yeah. As
your motive to squeeze in your free trial, I'd go with that one.
Okay, cool. Now I have some more TVs and movies that I to talk about from another channel that people may or may not have, Apple TV Plus. So I keep on getting year trials because we're for the most part an Apple family. So when we get a new this or that, like, oh, here's a free year of Apple TV Plus. So a couple of Apple TV Plus things that I've encountered is there's a Tom Hanks movie called Finch. I haven't watched it yet. I talked to somebody about it, and they said it was good. It's a post-apocalyptic world with Tom Hanks, and I think there's some kind of environmental disaster, I think, because you have to, I think it's a heat that you can only live above a certain level. And he winds up creating his own robot because apparently he was like a scientist or something. And he creates a robot to help him get to where he needs to get to try to survive. And I don't know a lot about it. I just saw it was a Tom Hanks post-apocalyptic movie. So it looked interesting. So again, if you have Apple TV Plus, that's something you could check out. Also on Apple TV Plus, we've mentioned it before. It was C. We talked about during our episode about the blind apocalypse. It's everybody loses their sight, and the world still goes on. And again, I question a lot of how we could still even have a civilization if we can't fucking see. It's not like we're primitive slugs at the bottom of the ocean or something. Which can it could happen.
Or my favorite right now when it comes to blind animals is the Greenland shark, which used to exist under the ice pack, right? So it was always dark because it was always the sun was sort of blocked out by the ice sheets of the Arctic ice pack, and apparently they have a worm, a parasite that is only found living in the eyes of Greenland sharks, where they get it at some point during their lives because they're long-lived. Apparently there's Greenland sharks that are centuries old, and they will eventually get this parasite in their eyes, and it will eventually make them blind, and they don't care because they live in darkness and continue to hunt and scavenge, under the ice sheet. But yes, we're not Greenland sharks. We're not
Greenland. We're a little bit more complex than that, and we need more. But there was a second season of that is now out. So
Dave's in it. Dave Bautista.
Oh yeah. He's like the main dude. So I think I watched the first season or most of the first season. It was okay, but again, like I said, I have my trepidations about could we really survive that fucking long with that shit? But there's a second season of it out. So again, if you have Apple TV Plus, you haven't watched it, you can get your blind apocalypse on with 2 seasons of C. And there's also on Apple TV Plus Invasion. It is a pre-apocalypse. It's an alien invasion scenario where aliens come down to take over the Earth. Apparently, so there's 4 main character arcs in this TV show, Invasion. The first series had 10 episodes. They definitely are going to have a second one because the way they ended it. 4 different character arcs, and they all wound up interconnecting. It's just in some way, some more than others. Aliens come down, definitely not human type aliens, humanoid aliens. Nearly impossible to kill. Normal weapons aren't working on them because of the nature of the beings, and and it looks like they're trying to. It looks like it's more of a terraforming type of situation. So I won't reveal too much about it because that's gonna give too much of the story away. But it's a little slow. I will tell you that. So, but I kept on watching it because I wanted to know, okay, well, why is this happening? What's the answer to that? It kept me intrigued enough just to keep watching it, but it's definitely not a fast pace. So if you're the type of person who doesn't like slow paced stuff, you might not like this. Like my wife had trouble with that because she's not a big fan of super slow paced, and this was a little slow. But again, it's a pre-apocalypse invasion scenario. Interesting. It's something. I wouldn't sit down and try to binge the whole thing. I would maybe watch an episode as you can. Because again, it's not very fast paced. So that's more stuff on Apple TV Plus. Again, a lot of movies. I have a couple more things I'm going to talk about before we check out. Unless you have some more stuff to add.
Nope. That's the limit of my material at the moment.
All right, just a couple other things I've encountered besides TVs. No books. We need to. I always talk about this, how we need to review some books that we've read. But again, a lot of these are books that I think are great and we're talking about, but it's been, 20, 30 years since I've read a lot of these books, and I just don't have the time to reread them, unfortunately, but maybe we'll get around to them. I wish I was a faster reader, and I wish I had time to blow through books so we could, review them, because there's a lot of good books out there I'd like to talk about. Some gaming stuff, some apocalyptic gaming I could talk about real quick before we wrap up is, I talked about in the past, there was a video game coming out for all the consoles and computer called Back 4 Blood. It was designed by the same people who did Left 4 Dead, and me and Scott are big fans of the Left 4 Dead franchise. We played the first and the second game. This is done by the same people. It was supposed to be a kind of a spiritual predecessor to it because, they didn't work for that studio anymore, so they couldn't make Left 4 Dead, so they made something similar. 4 characters, zombie apocalypse situation. It's okay. I only played it a little bit because it didn't give me the same vibe as Left 4 Dead. It definitely got a little more complicated. Not complicated, but it had too much stuff. Whereas I liked Left 4 Dead because it was pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Like there was a certain number of things you could deal with. But this, starts adding a lot of, elements that games have had in them the last 10 years. It's like, when you advance the level, you'll get your pack, and you can unpack your, cards and have different things you could do. And they worry about skins a lot, skins of your characters and emotes and stuff. So like it's all this Fortnite shit, that has been seeping into every game. Like they think every game now has to be Fortnite because all the kids like have their characters do stupid dances, which brings nothing to the gameplay at all. Skins, weapon skins, character skins, emotes do nothing for gameplay. But it's heavy in the game, so it really, for me, it detracts a lot from the games, But Back 4 Blood's out there, I have Game Pass Ultimate, so it was on there, so I didn't have to buy it, so I got to play it. So if you're an Xbox guy and you got Ultimate Game Pass, it's on there. I talked about in the past that Modifius was putting out a Fallout RPG, not the tactics one, which is the miniature game, but an actual RPG, a role playing game. Mm-hmm. So that is now available pretty readily. It's on Amazon. It's on you get it on Amazon. You can get it at the Modifius US store or European stores wherever you live. It uses the Modifius 220 system, so. I don't know anything about it. I just know that it's out there, and I'm a fan of Fallout, so I know eventually I'll pick it up because I want to, see what it's all about. See how they treat the treat the game. Because we're big fans of Fallout here. We love the environment. We love the story.
Oh yeah,
we love the Fallout universe here. So if it's a true RPG based on it, we'd like to see what it looks like.
Yeah, from what I've looked at, because I've looked at the PDF, a little extract PDF from it, it does look like the initial Mophidius Fallout book is based around Boston and the things that happen in Fallout 4. It's leans towards that. If they're going to do, go back and do a Fallout Capital Wasteland, do a Fallout Mojave Wasteland, or the Pit, or any of these other places. They don't have any background descriptions for those places yet.
But they might.
But certainly they seem to have the basic rules. According to the table of contents. This is just me reading the PDF of the table of contents to see what was going to be in the book. The background is definitely shifted towards the setting of Boston from Fallout 4.
Okay. Good to know. Which is fine. I mean, I like Fallout 4. I like that setting, so. But there's so much potential. Because I said, you could cover things like the Pit, the Capitol, the New California Republic. So if the game is successful for them, then sure, they could definitely expand into, if you like to play in that universe. Or, you know what, you could use their books as a source book for your own whatever RPG you're playing,
Absolutely. Absolutely. The love of Fallout comes from a love of Gamma World. There's so many crossovers there between the robots, high technology aspect of it, the apocalypse that takes place in the future, the retro futurism of both games. There's a lot of silly, crazy mutations. Obviously, if your radiation gives you superpowers, that's one thing we've learned from both Fallout and Gamma World. Although obviously Gamma World gives you more. Oh yeah, but that's it's got the power armor, it's got the super high-tech weapons, super low-tech weapons, and all places in between. That was my connection. And I think when I first sent Fallout 1 or Fallout 2 to Jared and said, you've got to pick this game up back in 99 or something, I was like, this is the closest I've seen to a game of Gamma World.
Yeah.
So you need to take a look at that.
Oh yeah, definitely. I definitely think it's not as Fallout's not as high-tech as Gamma World is, but it's good enough. It scratches that itch really well. So that's out there. And then, speaking of Gamma World, friend of the show, Tom Wilson, who's been on a couple times because he is the creator of the Gamazine, he had put out another Gamma World scenario because he has a bunch of those out there, and we've reviewed some of those. He did a Kickstarter a few weeks ago. It was a short Kickstarter, and I kind of even missed the launch. So I really didn't have time to record anything with him to talk about, to promote it. But he did a Kickstarter for a Gamma World adventure called Batteries Low Getting Dark. And
that is a great title.
Oh, I love that title. And he did the cover of it. He had the artist that did a cover. It was a definite homage to Famine and Fargo cover. It doesn't have giant mutated chickens, but the cover has that homage with the characters with the shields and the going through a door. It's pretty nice. So, and again, we like Tom's work. Tom does a lot of good work in the the old school gaming community for BX and Gamma World First Edition. So I'm sure he will have it soon because I know PDFs are going to go out soon. He normally does quick turnaround on his projects. So it'll probably be on DriveThruRPG. So if you've gotten any of his other Gamma World stuff, because it's Tom Wilson from Thru Games. So Batteries Low Getting Dark. I haven't even seen it yet. I haven't read it, but I'll always recommend Tom's Gamma World stuff because he does a really good job with it. But that's, we're about 30 plus minutes, and that's about all I really had. I'm sure there's a ton more stuff out there that we've missed, but these are things that are, have caught our eye recently. And,
oh, yeah, we'll be back for more, I assure you.
But we'll be back.
This is what we've got at the moment.
This is what we got at the moment. Because, we really need to come up with some other, because to be honest with you folks, I'm feeling a little tapped right now because we covered a lot of the broad topics. We've done that already, and I don't want to keep on rehashing the broad topics. Like we talked about viral apocalypses, we've talked about monster apocalypses, we've talked about food, entertainment, we've talked about so many of the bigger post-apocalyptic, we've talked about transportation stuff. We talked about a lot of different games and stuff. So,
we've done religion, sexual relation, politics. We've done all the things you're not supposed to talk about in the apocalypse.
Communication. We've talked about everything. So
language.
We talked about all the big topics, and I don't want to keep on doing repeat subjects, unless we came up with something really new for it. So we were kind of tapped on those, and we're just kind of left with doing things like we're doing, like broad topics like this, or like little bits
pointing out the new cultural things, pointing out the new entertainment things, as best we can.
Yeah, again, we keep on coming up with things like, recently we did the blind apocalypse. Like, hey, why don't we do the blind apocalypse? We haven't talked about that yet. So we'll come up with some other broad topics as it comes along.
If they can find a new way to apocalypse, like the lack of sleep apocalypse,
we did that already,
Yep. So, exactly. Whenever they come up with a new apocalypse, like, I guess in some ways, Bird Box is in a way the blind apocalypse, because you've got to not look at the problem to survive. Now that I think of it,
I think we talked about Bird Box when we talked.
I think it was part of that apocalypse.
Yeah,
but or the Please Stay Quiet apocalypse. We've covered if they come up with a new way to apocalypse, we will tell you about it. We will bring it to you.
Well, yeah, like A Quiet Place, the noise apocalypse. I don't know much more than A Quiet Place that we can even talk about when it comes to monsters that hear you. I don't know if we could do a whole episode on that, but yeah. So, and then we'll try to watch some movies, TV shows, books. The usual. It's like I promise we won't go months this time between episodes. We'll come up with something, folks. So that's it. And I will thank. We had a couple of our followers who bought us a couple cups of coffee. Recently, and we appreciate that. Thank you. That those Ko-Fi cups of coffee help keep us going. We have had enough people show their appreciation and get us some coffee to where I've covered the bottle caps. Enough bottle caps to cover the hosting bills for the next year. So we appreciate that, folks. So that's it.
Excellent.
All right. So that's it, folks. As always. Thank you for joining us. I am the Apocalypse Nerd. He is Adam Bomb Glancy. Thank you, and good night.
See you in the apocalypse.
If you enjoy the content we produce, please consider supporting us with a cup of coffee. Go to ko-fi.com/PCAGZ for more details. Keep up to date with us by visiting podcast@groundzero.com and subscribe to the blog via email.